day class. Today we're working on essay writing, and we're doing a general introduction to essay writing. I mean, everything you would need in an essay writing. When you're given any essay question, what are those things that are expected of you as candidates or students? I'll be using students and candidates interchangeably because they actually mean the same thing. So today we're starting off on general introduction to essay writing. This word essay, what does it really mean? It's like the composition we're used to from primary school up until junior secondary school. But now we say essay, and that is what houses the whole of the essay, the whole of the composition type you're writing. When you talk of all the essay types, even the letter, it's there. So in the first part of your question, of your WAEC question, the first part of it, so we're saying that essay is the umbrella that houses all the composition types that you write in a WAEC question. When you get to WAEC, when you sit, every question you would see there from numbers 1 to 5, that is everything put together is essay. And don't forget, you're going to have letter writing, informal letter writing. You have, it could be informal or semi-formal, and you would have formal letter writing. You would have articles. You would have sometimes descriptive. You could have, obviously you're going to have narrative essay, which many of us would love to write because we think it's story, and we want to write it. We want to write on it. So that is where the word essay, that is where it comes from. Is that okay? Good. Now, when we talk about essay, we're talking about something that is peculiar to you. And what is that thing? We're talking about creativity. We're talking about creativity. So what do I mean by creativity? When you are writing, what is being tested is your creative ability. How you can bring all that you've learned over the time, how you can bring them together to write on a single question. That is what you're tested on, simply. Whether it is letter, whether it is article, whether it is narrative essay or even descriptive, you were tested on how creative you are. How creative you are. So that taken, let's go to how are you really tested? How are you rated actually when you write essay? How are you rated? You're rated on one acronym that we call COEMA. That is the acronym. When you write a letter, you are going to be marked on this. When you write a narrative, you are going to be marked on this. Whatever you're writing, whatever you have written, this is what you are marked on. So we're going to take this one after the other. So let's see what this ones, let's see what each of these letters, let's see what they stand for. The first letter here stands for content. That first letter stands for content. And when we're talking about the content, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot because that is, let me say, the father of your essay. It is the father of your essay. Because this is the substance of what you have in that essay. This is where the substance is tested. What did I say? The substance in your essay is tested here. And do you know why we say it's substance? It is substance because that is testing how well do you understand, how well you understand that question. If the question says, for instance, if you're writing a letter and the question says you should write to your father or to your sister, to your friend. Now we want to see how well you can write to that person, how you can relate with that person in your writing, like you really know the person, like the person. Telling us, making whoever is reading it to mark to know that this person is talking or writing to their father or to their mother. So that is why we say it is the substance. And it has to be relevant. Relevant to what? Relevant to the question you are asked. It has to be relevant to the question you are asked. So the relevance of your essay is tested here. The relevance of it is tested here. And when we talk about this content, it takes that you really know the question, you understand the question you are answering. Because if you don't understand the question, you will go astray. And you would answer something different, entirely different from what you are asked. So that is why when you see your questions, question 1, informal letter, question 2, formal letter, question 3, you don't just jump at it. You look at it very well. Can I answer any of those questions? Which of them can I answer well? So that you don't run short of ideas. So that you don't write an application letter for an informal letter. You know, an application letter is a formal letter. And if you're given something and you go ahead and you just answer, you just say, oh, application to the examiner will be looking at you. What has this child written? What is this? So you're writing in your content, we are testing what is there that you understand about that question. That is what we're testing. So in content, we test, we expect you to do those ones. So the positive things, qualities we look for in your content are this: the clarity and general appropriateness of the style. The clarity and general appropriateness. I hope that is not too big for us. No. Now when we talk about clarity, we're talking about how do you make whoever is reading. Let's say you're writing, you're actually writing to your mother. It's a letter you're writing to your mother. When your mother reads, how would your mother understand what you have written? What would you put in there that would make it know, oh, this is my child? Now, that is your mother. Now, let's come back to the examiner that is marking that script. Take, for instance, it's script, and examiner is marking. Now, you've told the examiner you're choosing this question that says you should write to your mother. So you pick, the examiner will be looking at, okay, this child has a mother, and this is the mother this child is writing to. Take, for instance, you're requesting that she gives something to support you for something. Could be you're going for an excursion and you think you need her to give you money to support you. Now, the examiner will be looking at, okay, how appropriate your words, your diction, how appropriate are they? How do you talk to your mother? Fine, it's an informal letter. You're going to be chatty, like we have learned. You're going to be chatty because it's your mom. Make everybody know that she is your mom. And, you know, you're going to be chatty. But then, yeah, from this part of the world, even in anywhere in the world, you're expected to at least respect your mom in a little way. So some level of respect will be there, and so that examiner will be looking at, okay, this child is not rude, this child is this candidate is doing it well, has written it well. Now, if the question says ask for support for an excursion or for a project, now the examiner will be looking at, okay, how well have you asked that? How have you asked for it? Did you actually ask that? Is it for that thing? Is it really in that? Is it really in that content? That is it. Now, in your content, another thing that comes in is originality. Now, this talks about how original are you? How well can we appraise that that is something that is coming from you? How are we sure it is not that you heard or you have read somewhere and you just copy? Remember, your examiner might have read ahead of you, and that thing you're copying might be something the examiner knows. So that's your originality is tested. How original? Is this person really writing it like, okay, it is me, it's for me, I'm the one creating it, and I'm the one that has it, and I'm putting it down, and I'm writing to my mom. That is one. And how appropriate is it? If it is a letter, do you have the address? An informal letter, do you have your address? Your single address, that is the recipient address. So that is the style. And if it is, take for instance, if what you're writing is like a speech, for instance, how is it related? How appropriate is it? Do you go ahead and write an address for a speech? That would be serious. You don't write an address for a speech. So that is tested there. Or let's say it's an informal, it's a formal letter. Do you just write a single address instead of the two addresses you're supposed to have? Your own address and the recipient address. Do you have it there, or you just rush over it? Oh, I'm pressed for time, and you know, I can only accommodate one address, and you put your own address. The recipient address isn't there, and that makes it informal. Or is it a formal letter and you didn't write your title? You didn't title it. Okay, now we're doing this because we're doing general introduction. When we get into those types, we're going to discuss every one, and we're going to discuss their features. So that's why because there are things I want you to know here, so I don't want to dabble into all those ones just yet. So let's move on. The second thing we test here is variety of sentence structure and types. Variety of sentence structure and type. For sentence structure, what structure does it have? Is it a passive voice? Is it an active voice? Okay, then we'll talk about type. Is it simple sentence? Is it compound sentence? Is it complex sentence? Is it compound complex? That's what we're talking about. Then number 3 here talks about the judicious use of figurative language. Yes, that was an excellent question. You were asking about figurative language. Well, too good. But if you are a literature student, an art student, you would know this very well. But I don't blame you. You do sciences, maths, physics, and all that, so it's okay. Figurative language is just our figures of speech. Don't forget, even in your comprehension question, you are asked that too. You are asked. Sometimes you'll be given a sentence and it's like, what figure of speech is this? You are asked to say it. So now, just listen. Figurative language, when you put in your essay, then enliven your essay. Make it lively, make it lovely. Especially if you're describing or you're narrating. When you put it in, when you put in dialogue and all that. So when you're writing that and any examiner picks it, oh, they feel good. Oh, this candidate knows what they are talking about. So when you use in your essay, it makes it excellent. They hand you marks. Good. And the last one here says skillful and sophisticated use of punctuation. This is where we have the most problem. This is where we have the most problem. Sometimes you use comma incessantly. Sometimes your full stop, they just put full stops. That's not good. We want you to use those punctuation marks you have learned. You've learned comma, you've learned full stop, you've learned capital letter, you've learned ellipsis, underlining, colon, semicolon. You've learned all of that. Now you want to put them to use here, and you want to use them very, very well, because they create problem when you don't use them well. The next thing under this kohima, I call it thing or element interchangeably. The next thing or under this kohima is organization. On organization, you're tested on the format, the correctness of the format you have used. Now, how are you tested? It's with the paragraph. You're paragraphing. Because of what many of us are used to, we just write, she's a girl, she's a boy, she's a beautiful girl, she's an handsome boy, the girl is coming. Very simple sentences like that. So if we don't improve on it, we carry that into exams like this, and they won't earn us good mark. Under organization, they will not earn us very good mark. Under organization, you need good paragraphing. And when do you say a paragraph is good? It is when it has at least 3 sentences. At least 3 sentences. Now, when you talk about 3 sentences, you're talking about not just one sentence type. You should have at least 2 or 3 sentence types in the same paragraph. That is when it is good. Again, within your paragraph, you should have this knowledge that your paragraph is like a passage on its own. And so it should have a theme or sentence topic. It is that theme or sentence topic that the other sentences you have would explain. And that is when it is a good paragraph. Here, that is what we mark under organization. Now, let me link the two together, the two we have talked about. We've talked about content, we talked about organization. They are interwoven, the two of them. Most of the times, it is what a candidate scores in content that you would equally score in organization when the organization is goes along with the content. Because it is the content you are organizing. That is the relationship between the two of them. It is what you have under the content you're organizing. So if you don't have a good content, so what do you organize? So that is why when you answer a different question from what you are given, you get a 0 for content because that is not what you asked, and you equally get a 0 for organization. I hope that is taken. Thank you very much. That question reminds me of the sentence types we have. We said that if you must have a good paragraphing, it must reveal varied sentence types, isn't it? And we're talking about simple sentence, compound, complex, compound, complex sentences. Now, simple sentence is the one you're used to. Everybody. I am a girl. Oh, that's good. Is a boy. Very simple. That is welcome to. But you know, as a candidate at WAEC level, and you're writing, and all we have is, she is going home, full stop. When she came back, she went to, looks boring. The examiner like, oh, this is too weak. Sometimes you see examiners underlining or trying to like, this is too weak. That automatically reduces your mark. So for here, you will use simple sentences, fine. You equally use compound sentences. Compound sentences, they have at least two ideas put together with the use of some conjunctions like and, but, yet. Then you have complex sentences. Those ones, they have at least 2 main ideas and subordinate ideas. Maybe 1 or 2 subordinate ideas. Now when you get to the compound complex, that's one we don't really encourage them to use them because they are heightened and you must be skillful in it, else you would have used it wrongly. So this one could have like would have at least two main ideas, and they can have varied subordinate ideas. And these are captured by your clauses, main clauses and subordinate clauses. So that is what we have here. And if you can use that very well correctly, oh, it will be very excellent. Your organization will be very good, and it will go along with what you have under the content. Is that taken? Thank you. I think here it's good for us to see maybe one example of compound sentences and complex sentences. Now, one example that I have here of compound sentences is this. Chuku has been in Ibadan for 3 years, but he can't speak Yoruba. What I'm talking about. Now, look at it is, we have tried to put these two ideas together. The fact that Chuku has been in Ibadan and that he can't speak Yoruba, we've been able to put it together with but. Okay? Though it is like what are we doing now? We're trying to differentiate. Okay, like a disparity. He's been in Ibadan. Ordinarily, when you live in Ibadan, it's a Yoruba state, so you should be able to speak, but he can't speak Yoruba. So that is it. That's a compound sentence. Another example of complex sentence. Complex sentence too would have two ideas, but you don't put it together with any conjunction. It stands on its own. The most you do is maybe a comma, a punctuation mark. And that is what you see here. You cannot have this razor blade yet. I am making use of it. Simple, very, very simple. Two ideas put together. Is that okay? Good. Alright, the next element here is the E. And when we talk about this E, we're talking about expression. Expression. And this is where the effective use of the language English is accounted for. This is where it is tested. It is actually your expression that brings around it all of these, your content, your organization. Because it is your expression, the much of English you know to write, that we get your content from, we get your organization from. So, how effective you use your language is accounted for, is brought to book here. Now, another thing we test is the appropriateness of your register. I'm saying register because I probably belong to the old time, a little way. Now we call it, maybe at your time, call it vocabulary development. And now, JS1 and 2, I think they say it's increase your word power, but whatever it is the register. And when we're talking about this register, we're talking about the words that are peculiar to different fields. And as a student of English, you must know, that is why you learn them. You know, you read books on this, you read books on that, when you read those books, see the words that are used. Now, if you are writing about medicine and you say the doctor gave his verdict, you are wrong. Because verdict does not belong to the medical line, it belongs to law. So that will be circled for you, and the whole expression will be underlined to tell you that it's distorted. It doesn't belong there. So, when you cannot write this well, it's a whole lot of problem. Because it is the expression itself that has the most mark. It is the expression that has the most, so you have to be able to use your words. The registers you've learned, you have to be able to put them to use here and use them very, very well too. So is that taken? Good. So we're going to the last element that you're tested on in essay writing now. Very, very beautiful question. I'm glad you are following along. That's very good. The first question I have two questions. The first question I have is, if it is not the doctor's verdict, then what is it? Alright, let me answer that first. Now, if it is not the doctor's verdict, then it must be the doctor's prescription after their diagnosis. The doctor had done his diagnosis or her diagnosis and has prescribed that you do this, you use this, sleep well and all that. That is it. Now, going to the second question says, how can I come by the good use of my register? It's a whole lot of work. But it's not something that is not achievable. You actually can achieve it. And how do you do that? You read books. I'm sure you're doing that. But when you read books, do you bring it to bed? That is it. Many of us, we read books and we just forget about them. We like, when you ask, what was that book about? Oh, very interesting. What is it about? Sometimes we can't say it. So when you read book, you let them sink and you use the words you have from them. Now, one way you can do that is this. When you read books, you see words that you don't know. They become important. They are not new words. They might be new to you. They are not new to everybody. They become very, very important. And so you put them down. You can have a word bank. You put those words there. Their meaning, their usage. And so they will be so easy for you to use when you're writing. And do you know what? When you do that, you really, you kind of entice the examiner. Sometimes the examiner will give you much more than you're worth. So that is it. All right, there's this question now that I got again. Very good. That guy, I love that. The guy was like, oh, so what about the usage? So can we just use it anyhow? No. When you get those words from the books you read, from anywhere you get them, you write them down, learn the meaning, and learn the usage from your dictionary. For all of essay types, you are asked, be afraid of your dictionary. That is the only way. The dictionary will tell you what it means and how best it's used. Now, an undergraduate student got a word, elusive, and he went ahead. He just like, okay, I've gotten this word. This is my new word. And he went ahead. And the next time he saw his lecturer, he was like, sir, I've been looking for you. It's like you've been elusive. The lecturer was like, oh, okay. You don't do that. Even if that lecturer has been elusive for real, you cannot say it. You think about it. You don't say it. Because here we are not in America. In America, that could be taken. Our culture here demands that you're very respectful. You're not rude at any point. Because when you're rude, like that guy, if the lecturer doesn't have the church mind in quotes, that guy would have failed that course. Because don't worry, I'm elusive, you will get an elusive mark. So is that clear? Good. Okay, class. This is the last element that you're tested on in essay. As we fondly call it when we get to coordination centers, we call it MUE. This is where the problem is. Most of the time, candidates score 0 because of what it tests. And these things are not difficult if you have developed yourself from where you started. From where and when you started. If you have developed yourself to write well, your grammar, you don't have to write big words that you don't understand. No. The simple ones that you can put down well, the spelling, the correctness of the spelling, the grammar, and the punctuation. If you have that well, you don't have any problem whatsoever. That is why I said this is the bone of contention when you mark essay. It is what accounts for the skill in grammar, in spelling, and in punctuation. Now, to score a 0 here, I haven't told you what mark is allotted to each of them. I'll tell you later. To score a 0 here, you only need 20 rings, and sometimes you can have more than that. Some examiners are very critical because it's allowed. When it is too much, when your rings are too many, do you know what they do? Because eventually it would distort the meaning, and that would bring your expression mark down. Now when I say it would distort the meaning, I mean it will scatter the meaning, it would make it meaningless. And so it looks like, okay, so what is this candidate saying? I can't make sense out of it. The mechanical accuracy is already a 0. If you have a good content, if in the whole analysis of it, when we bring it to general analysis, you have good, it looks like, oh, this person has content. And the organization, it looks like, okay. And there is no way it will not affect the organization. You know why? The organization is how you put those, your thoughts, how you put them together. So there is no way it won't affect it. When you write is instead of was, it becomes a problem. We're going to talk about tenses too. When you write, it becomes a problem. So that is circled for you. Another circle, another ring, another ring. When you count 20, that is a 0. Mechanical accuracy over 10 is a 0. So you actually have 40 to contend with. instead of 50 eventually. Now, that is when you have enough number of words, which is 450 words like you were used to. So if you have lesser number of words, it becomes a problem. You don't need 20 rings to get a 0. For instance, if I count and I found out that you have, if you're supposed to, you have 8 words per line, you're supposed to have 56 lines. So if you have like, let's say you have 40 lines, I'm going to be marking you 7/10. So as soon as you have like 14 rings, you have a 0 in mechanical accuracy. So this is where we have to be very careful. Learn your spellings very well. To learn spelling is not difficult too. Make use of your dictionary. If you are a friend of your dictionary, you would have little or no problem at all. So that is the only thing that can tell you this is how to write it. Now for grammar, we'll be talking about tenses. Now when you talk about tenses, you have the 5. I'm not going to go into this because it is in grammar and you've been learning it. You have 5 major verb forms. It is your verb that makes your tense. You have 5 major verb forms, and that is the present, the simple present, the past, the third person, the past, the continuous, and the past participle. Those are the 5 ones that you have. Though you have other ones, but these are the 5 major ones where other ones are carved out from. So if you have your past tense, if it's supposed to be she's here, and you say, oh, she was here, and the person is right there, you've missed it. So that would attract a ring. Now, if you're writing a narrative is purely in the past. So when you are writing a narrative, you've chosen your number 5 question, good, because you love to write story. And you're writing what the person did 100 years ago, and you're saying, and she's, and she do, and she, it becomes a problem. The example like, wait, this person doesn't really know where they belong. And that attracts rings and rings and rings. Eventually, when we take the whole sentence together, it makes no sense. And so that brings your expression down. So you have to be very, very careful with your mechanical accuracy. Very, very careful. So that you don't miss out on your grammar, usage, the tenses. So you don't miss out on your spellings. And you don't miss out on your punctuation. Now, we've talked about grammar, we've talked about spelling. Let's talk about punctuation. Punctuation is another thing. All those punctuation marks you started learning since JS1 or even since primary school. You say, when you want to write a proper noun, you start with a capital letter. When you want to begin a sentence, whether it is a proper noun, it's not a proper noun, you start with capital letter. When you know all those uses of capital letter you've learned. Now, if you go ahead and you write the name of, you write Bosun for instance, that's a name, that's a proper name. And you have started it with a small letter, that is wrong automatically. Or that your pronoun I, that is another very tricky one. Now when you're writing on, you start with a capital letter. When you write on, you write with small letter, small letter. But when you get to I, wherever it appears, whether in between sentences, you use capital letter. Letter I, pronoun I, it's depicting somebody, pointing somebody out, and that person is a proper person, and so you use I. If you have small I, like 100 times in your essay, sorry, it will be wrong. You would have that is for I alone, you already have 100 rings. So please take this as a piece of advice as you go to write. Very, very important. So that is that. Then another punctuation is incessant use of comma. Some people, they can just use comma, they keep using comma and comma and comma and comma. You know, look at this one does not need a comma. A comma is a pause that you're continuing. So if you don't need to pause, and it's not like you're itemizing where you use comma, like mommy, comma, daddy. No, when you're not doing that, or no, you're not listing, you don't need comma. And some people, the use of full stop is not in their dictionary. They would write on. There will not be a single full stop. Even at the end of the whole essay. That will be very, very serious. I wonder how such the examiner that will mark such a script would mark it. So please don't fall in this category. don't make this error. So, are we clear? Good. Now, the next thing we will do here is we want to see what mark is allotted to each of these elements, essay elements. We've been talking about the elements you're marked on in essay writing. We know all of them now. We know C stands for content, O organization, E expression, and MA mechanical accuracy. Now, I would like to let you know what you are scored on each of these elements. For the content, you scored over 10. To get a very good mark there, because it's obviously not possible for you to get a 10 over 10 there. But at least we have marked, and we had a child, well, a few of them that got 8 there. So to get such a mark takes hard work. That means you would have written a blemish, almost a blemish-free essay to get that. A blemish-free essay. Because even when your content is a laudable one, very good, if other elements are not well accounted for, you can't really tell, you don't test well on that, there's no way it won't affect the content. The same for organization. You know, don't forget I said that organization and the content, they go hand in hand. The expression and mechanical accuracy. Most of the time, you have students getting a 0 here. Most of the time. In fact, the ones we marked recently, we didn't mark any child, even from we didn't mark any child that scored 1. Everybody scored 0. All the 10 dummies we made, and all the scripts many people got, no single child got 1. Well, we can say maybe it's because of where we're coming from, but that be that as it may, we can have that. So that is what you're expected to have in your essay. You can achieve it. Maybe with you, we will get a 50-50 someday. Good. When you write, we're talking about writing now. Your handwriting is very, very important. No examiner will mark what they can't see. When you can't see, you cannot mark. So even if you wear like binoculars and all that, if you don't write it well, if your letters are not standing apart well, we won't mark it. If you're writing H-U-R-T, hurt, and it looks to me like you've written B-O, there's no way I would. Even when I get that, that is when I can reason for you, this is what this child wants. You won't still get it. You won't get it. So please work well on your handwriting. It is not too late because you're not yet writing the exam. You can work on your handwriting and make it very good, because that is the concern of every examiner. You want to write and you want to see what the child writes. You don't have to write beautifully. What do you need? Legibility. Just that. If it is legible, anybody can pick your A, you can pick your K, your S, your T. It's okay. And another issue, well, it is the age we find ourselves. But till now, why will still not mark it when you do that? No external exam would mark it when you do that. When you use social media language. The language you use for WhatsApp, you use for Facebook, you use on Twitter, those ones, like you want to write and you just do something like this. You want to write at, you do at like you do in yahoo.com. Nobody will mark that for you. It will be circled and it increases the number of rings. Instead of having something for the MA, those ones would lower your mark, will bring them down, bring the mark down until you have maybe nothing altogether. And I'm sure you wouldn't like that. Is that taken? Good. That was a good question you asked. That if I have, if since 20 rings makes no mark, 0 mark for mechanical accuracy. So if I have more rings than 20, the thing is this. For all this, there is no hiding place. You have to really stand out in all. Because if you have more than 20 rings, automatically your expression is bad. That is the meaning. So it's already distorted. So there is no way it won't affect the organization. Even the content, there is no way it won't affect it. So just try as much as possible to make sure that you put everything right. And it starts now. Like I said the other time, it starts now. Start working on it now. If you have not, you've been playing over it, start working on it now. And this, another question is that what are the examples of the social media language that we're talking about? Look at, you want to write that and you wrote DAT. Is that that? What does it cost you? All you need is just 2 more letters and you've written it. You want to write and you wrote ND. Is that and? It is not. So please desist from this kind of writing. Even when you are texting messages. Look at me here, you will call me old school. But when I want to text message, except I'm in such a very serious hurry. When I want to write, I put everything, all the words. I don't care if I'm writing a text message and my credit, I have to waste my airtime. I don't care. But at least I want to pass on the right message to whoever is reading my text message. So if you form that habit from now, the better for you. Remember, you can't hide anywhere. So you have to do everything properly. And dexterity, perfection is expected here because you've been learning since cradle. So perfection, or what I call dexterity, is expected here of you. Because it is not more than what you have learned. Alright, the last thing that I want to talk about on this introductory aspect to essay is brainstorming. This is what many of us don't take into consideration at all. When you get your question, what you do straight is you start writing. That is very, very bad. When you get your question, the first thing you do is this. You have the question, you have numbers 1 to 5, and you're looking at it. Which one can I answer well? Which one will earn me more mark if I answer? That is where brainstorming comes in. Now, brainstorming is tasking your brain. Tasking your brain, bringing your creativity into place. Now, what you're doing here is, you want to see, when you look at number 1, you're thinking, can I answer this? Do I understand this well? Can I reinterpret this? Can I put it in my own way? If you can't, chances are that you will not have enough points to give you 450 words. Because we need 450 words or more. Now, if you brainstorm and you find out that, oh, this is the letter, but I don't think I understand this question. You go on to the next one, to the next one. And I'm sure you will find one that will be very, very interesting that you'll be able to pick out and you'll be able to write on. So, when you are writing, you sit back and you brainstorm. Sit back and brainstorm. So, what do I have to write? What can I write about this? That is actually planning, or what you call outlining. You outline your points. Put them down. You don't just go ahead and my dear sister, dear somebody, and you start writing. No, sit. Now, what do I want to have in my letter? If it is letter, I want to write on. You think about the address. Okay, am I picking a formal letter and informal letter? My address, the 2 addresses if it is formal, 1 address if it is informal, and what am I going to write? Okay, the question had said I should tell her, tell her that this man is not the material she could marry. Why? Because she doesn't live where you live, and that man lives close to you. You know the man very well. You know what the man is up to. And don't forget, whatever points you want to write must be convincing enough to make your sister, to make the lady change her mind about going that way. So you want to put it down. And eventually your outlining will inform your paragraphs. I said earlier, your paragraph, each paragraph will have an idea. 1 single major idea, or maybe 2 simple ideas. And every other sentence would explain the idea you have as the topic sentence or the theme of that paragraph. Every other sentence will explain it. That is when you have a good paragraph. So when you sit back to outline first, in my first paragraph, this is what I want to write. Of course, you know, introductory paragraph, you always have that. So the body of the letter, or the body of whatever you're writing. So what do I write here? What do I say the man did, or the man, what do I say? It's the man's character or way of life, that would make me tell my sister not to marry him. Now you'll be talking about generally, even if you say that he is a womanizer, your sister will say, I don't care. That might not be convincing to some people. I say, I don't care whether he womanizes or he does not womanize. I don't care, as long as he loves me. Fine. Now you want to look for that might be part of it, might be one of the reasons, but you now look for very convincing ones. Who would hear that this one is a drug dealer, an addict, and will still want to go into it? They will not want to. So that could be one of the things you will write about. Or you say is a rogue, is a thief or a robber, and you know it. Maybe he's been apprehended, but he is always released because the father is influential. So, you know, things like that. Alright, we started off on outlining on the brainstorming, and I'm saying that this is what an outlining would look like. If you have an outline on that question that I talked about the other time, that your sister wants to marry a man whose character leaves so much to be desired, and you want to write at least 3 things, 3 reasons she shouldn't go ahead and marry that man. So that's what you're doing. Now what you're going to be doing is your introduction. Of course, you know it's a letter. You have your address and your opening salutation, dear sister or dear bimbo, if you call her by name, however you call her. Now you want to introduce, because your sister, she is your sister, and your sisters, or your sister and brother. So you want to greet her. You want to let her know, exchange pleasantries in the first paragraph. That's the opening paragraph, or what you call introduction. And the next one, you want to tell her about the character of the man. And don't forget that it is emotion that is involved here. You don't want to break her emotion. You don't just want to tell her things that that are not really true. Or even when they are true, you don't just want to tell her anyhow. The way she would just feel like, or she will feel so down that she won't have anywhere to hide, as in anywhere to brace herself up. So you want to be very careful as you present the crime and offenses that you've seen the man commit. Because the man lives in your area, so you know the man so well. You can do that in the paragraph, because that will be the main body. And as you're doing it, you're telling her how sure you are about those things you're saying about the man. You want to convince her. You want to tell her that you can ask questions. You can even have witnesses, because it's your area. You can tell her that when else she comes, because she doesn't live there, so she does not know. When else she comes, she should ask from this person, or just stylishly find out. You could say that too. Then when you're done, you think you've convinced her enough, you do your conclusion. Of course, conclusion includes you greeting again, and tell her to greet other people around, the people that are known to both of you over there where she works or where she resides. Then your final subscription. We have another problem here with this final subscription. When you write letters, many of us, for an informal letter, we go ahead and write yours faithfully. That is very, very wrong. How do you subscribe for an informal letter? Yours sincerely. Good. Yours sincerely is your best bet. Just leave it at that. We have other words, but students have misused it over the years. So when I teach, I tell my students, use yours sincerely. Whether it's your father, your sister, your mother, your friend, use yours sincerely. That carries everything. That carries everything. I'm so sure that if you follow this, as we would go on to learn all those types of essays, if you follow this, you will not miss out. That is that. And I don't know if you would quickly let us just talk about the types of essay we have. We may not write them because we'll still be treating them one by one before we round up finally. Essay type. What do we have? Remember, we said it is the general name under which all your compositions come. Now, for essay, you have narrative essay, you have descriptive essay, you have argumentative essay, you have expository essay, you have speech writing, you have article writing, you have letters. And letters, you have your informal letter, which is very friendly. You have your formal letter, the very official, and you have a semi-formal letter. It is not official, and it is not totally informal, though it has almost the same feature as informal. But there are some things you can readily do in informal letter that you can't do there. So with this, we come to the end of this introductory part of essay writing.